Good morning, Flagler County. I'm Rich Carroll. You're listening to Flagler's Morning News on Monday, July 17th.
I think I've come to truly enjoy the Florida coastal life. I think that's where my skill set has evolved over the course of the 7.5 years in Fernandina Beach, and I look forward to bringing those same skills to help enhance your quality of life here in Flagler Beach.
In a unanimous decision, the Flagler Beach City Commission has selected Dale Martin, the former city manager of Fernandina Beach, as Flagler Beach's new city manager. Martin's impressive credentials and experience garnered widespread acclaim, receiving support not only from the commission, but also from the public. The decision was reached after a series of interviews with 4 candidates, with Martin standing out as the most favored choice due to his strong leadership qualities and extensive coastal city experience. Having served Fernandina Beach for 7 years, including navigating hurricane recovery efforts and successfully dealing with FEMA, Martin showcased his ability to handle the challenges often faced by coastal communities.
I think the most notable accomplishment was a successful fight with FEMA as Hurricane Matthew destroyed your pier. Hurricane Matthew destroyed the city's marina, downtown marina. After receiving 2 signed certifications from FEMA saying that they would pay 75% of our reconstruction cost, we went forward with that reconstruction at a cost of approximately $10 million. After the construction was nearly completed, FEMA suddenly changed their mind and said, we think you could have repaired it and we're only going to give you $700,000. So that was a 5-year battle. We actually filed formal arbitration in the United States Civilian Board of Contract Appeals in Washington, D.C., and we put together, with the assistance of counsel in Washington, D.C., we were successful. FEMA conceded before we even went to appeal. So the city did get approximately $7.5 million, and for the first time in history, FEMA actually also paid our financing cost that we had to take out a loan to pay for that. So they gave us an additional $300,000, which FEMA had never been done in the history of FEMA.
The commission aims to have the new city manager on board by mid-August, enabling him to influence the upcoming budget deliberations. This local news is a service of Flagler County's Toyota dealer, Beaver Toyota, US 1 St. Augustine, here to wow you. Heavy rains washed out a portion of A1A in Flagler Beach yesterday afternoon, causing a traffic diversion onto Clubhouse Drive and South Central Avenue. While the road itself remains intact, the erosion of the shoulder necessitated the precautionary closure of the affected portion of A1A in both directions. The Florida Department of Transportation had been alerted and dispatched a team to assess the situation. Flagler Broadcasting, in partnership with the Grace Community Food Pantry, held the 2nd annual $1 Million Foodathon on Friday. Food banks have a 5 times purchasing power, so a $100 donation can buy $500 in food. Businesses and residents came together to make this happen, even in this challenging economic climate. All of the donors from last year returned, and new donors contributed. That impressed Pastor Charles Solano.
I couldn't be more motivated just because of the community support. And that's what it was all about. It was about a bunch of business people, a bunch of regular people, just normal, regular citizens coming in to give anything that they could give. And so I'm really always, all the time, amazed at the community response in Flagler County when there is a community need.
There are still donations coming in, so a final number on the $1 Million Foodathon has not been established yet.
Have you flown on a private jet in a personal or official capacity since you've taken this position?
Possibly once.
That's Special Presidential Envoy on Climate John Kerry in a House Foreign Affairs Subcommittee hearing, U.S. Congressman Mike Waltz, representing Flagler County, questioning Kerry about his travel on and ownership of a private jet.
When we are asking Americans to make serious sacrifices as we transition for the common good, and your family and or yourself are flying around on private jets, that smacks of hypocrisy. It actually hurts your cause.
I do not fly on a private jet. I do not fly. I fly commercially.
Have you flown on a private jet in a personal or official capacity since you've taken this position?
Possibly once.
Waltz entered into the record an article from February 15, 2023, entitled John Kerry Family Private Jet Sold Shortly After Accusations of Climate Hypocrisy. Next, Waltz questions Secretary Kerry on his shadow diplomacy, meetings, and communications with former Iranian Foreign Minister Zarif during the previous administration.
Shadow diplomacy, depending on what involved. Shadow diplomacy has also saved us from a war.
Mr. Secretary, I would posture that your shadow diplomacy now has us on the verge
I wasn't
of Iran
conducting
having
shadow
a nuclear
diplomacy.
weapon.
I was at a security conference.
That is now exploding as they race towards full enrichment from 20% to 60%, on the verge of having a nuclear weapon and a nuclear arms race in the Middle East.
The reason that happened, my friend, is because Donald Trump pulled out of that agreement. There was no way they could have had a nuclear weapon under the agreement that existed.
For Flagler's Morning News, I'm Karen Johnson.
And now you're up to date on Flagler's Morning News. I'm Rich Carroll.